Hi students, once again you are welcome to this class, revision class on AE 303 Agrarian Institution and their Management. Introduction. Agrarian Institution and their Management is a special area in the field of agriculture. All students and practitioners interested in agriculture must be well acquainted with the overall management of agriculture. It is an area that sheds light on operation of agriculture around the world with the aim of applying the experiences gained in developing the field of agriculture in Nigeria. Relevant lessons were drawn from the management of agriculture in developed countries. The various concepts of agrarian institution, the historical development of agriculture coupled with the establishment of agrarian institutions in the world were all spelled out. The objectives of this lesson are, you have at the end of this lesson or class, you will have a broad understanding on the establishment of and the operations of agrarian institution of the world as well as Nigeria. Review the semester's work. You also recall what you have learned from week 1 to 7. And also you'll be able to answer questions from topic 1 to 7. So areas covered in the course materials include, in week 1, we have the general overview of the course contents. This includes the day and time of the week. Synchronous facilitation was on every Wednesday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon. And asynchronous were also done at most. Then topic 2, we were able to discuss on the concepts of agrarian institution. This covers module 1, unit 1, unit 2, and unit 3. So in unit 1, we were able to define agrarian institution and then the basic concepts of agrarian institution. So the concepts in agrarian institution includes agriculture, which was defined as the acts of cultivating crops and rearing of animals, including keeping of other livestock for the use of man. The word agrarian too is defined as a concept relating to or concerning the land, its uses, ownership, cultivation, and tenure. It also relates to agriculture and rural matters. It also furthers agricultural interests. We also look at the concepts of institution, which institution is defined as a collective action in restraint, liberation, and expansion of individuals' action. Institution governs economics, social, and political power, relations between individuals and government, and affects directly their independence as well as the achievement of reasonable order from ever-present conflicts growing out of these relations. So in Unit 2, we were able to discuss on the agrarian history of the world. Talked about the agrarian history of the world, that is in Unit 2. In agrarian history, we know that farming and agricultural institutions have a cultural context that cannot be ignored. So then the history of agrarian started with this person, David Lodans, An Agrarian History of South Asia, which was the 4th volume, which he wrote this in the 4th volume of his new Cambridge History of India. In this volume, he brought about research from historical, economics, anthropologists, geographers, political scientists, and rural sociology to create comprehensive framework for an understanding of the force which have created the contemporary patchwork of agrarian region, which extended from there to Afghanistan and to other parts of the world. So, and then we also in Unit 3, we were able to look at the rural development. The rural development, rural development management. So we saw that the issue of reality is important in order to understand that rural development entails is just to understand it. It's also an important to look at the concept of this rurality. So rural, what we mean by rural is a city, that is to a layman, a city is simply where bright lights are found. But in rural areas, such lights are not found. And while the villages, that is areas attributes, in such areas and also rural areas are also characterized by a place that is densely populated. It is slow, small in size, relatively isolated. Major economic activities are not done in such, or major economic activities in that area is agricultural production. So people there are relatively homogeneous in their values, attitudes, and behavior. So in week 4, we considered the topics that title Establishment of Agrarian Institution. This covers Module 2, Unit 1. So this here we were able to talk about the international policies for agrarian reform and rural development. So there we were able to we discussed about the concepts of international policy. We also talked about areas of effective agrarian reform and rural development. The areas which includes the areas of effective agrarian reform and rural development includes international trade, economic and technical cooperation among developing countries, foreign investment, development assistance. So we were able to discuss them one after the other. So in the course of this, we were also able to see areas in which the government of developing countries should also, or developed countries should take action on international trade. We also was able to also look at the economic and technical cooperation, those areas that the government technical cooperation among developing countries, the areas in which developing countries should also take actions. We were able to look at them, to see them, and then under this we also talked about foreign investment, still on our international policy. We will consider foreign investment. So there we were also able to see strategy for agrarian reform and rural development as regard this foreign investment. Then still on international policy, we were also able to discuss on development assistance. We were able to look at the cooperation among developed and developing countries, areas in which they also should take actions. So week 4, that is the title of the topic, was agreement for establishment of a regional center on agrarian reform and rural development. There we were able to see the establishment of a rural center on agrarian reform, and we were able to see the objectives of the centers. I liked the objectives of these centers, establishment of these centers. So one of the objectives was to assist national action and to stimulate and promote regional cooperation, also to integrate rural people in development process. The third one was to encourage their participation in social and economic life. The fourth one was to improve the production, income, and living condition of a small scale farmers and other needy rural groups. The fifth one was to foster the exchange of idea and experience and to encourage such joint or collaborative activities as may benefit member states individually or collectively. We have also able to see the basic principle for the achievement of the that is for the achievement of these projects or objectives. There were basic principles that were to decide on. We were able to look at those principles, and then having done that, module 2 units 3, that is the agreement, and then module 2 unit 2, then module 2 units 1 3, we were able to look at the structure of regional center on agrarian reform and rural development. Here, we were able to look at the different structures of regional center on agrarian reform and rural development. This includes governing councils. We were able to look at the governing councils and their functions. Also, it talks about the technical committee. We also discussed them and their functions. We also were able to look at the directors and their functions. Then we were also able to look at the sub-centers, and also their sub-regional centers and their functions as well. So we were also able to look at, that is in Unit 4 of Model 2, the discussion was on resources of regional center and its relationship with other organizations. So we have been able to see the resources of these regional centers, which includes any premises and other facilities owned by the center, the annual contribution of the member states to the center, donations to the centers, proceeds from investment of liquid assets and part thereof. All these are the resources of the regional center. Then we were also able to consider the relationship with other organizations and agencies. Even there, we were also able to look at the privilege, immunities, and facilities accorded to the centers, which includes immunity from every form of legal processes, every form of legal processes. They were given that immunity for that, and also freedom to hold funds or currency of any kind to operate any account. Also, they were also given the immunity to host states. The host state should also exercise due diligence to ensure that the security and tranquility of the premises of the center are not in any way impaired. Also, they were able to see another immunity was that the center should enjoy for its official communication treatment, not less favorable than that accord to any other organization. Then in week 5, we were able to, the topic of the discussion on week 5 was agrarian structure. This covers module 3, unit 1, 2, and 3. So in unit 1, their discussion was on social agrarian structure. Then under social agrarian structure, we were able to look at the land tenure system and their problems. We were also able to look at system of labor organization under social agrarian structure and also the different types of labor organization. And then we were also able to look at the land management system under social agrarian structure, which includes labor, capital, and land itself. So on economic agrarian structure, we were able to discuss this, the modern farm scenario, the modern agricultural scenario under the economics agrarian structure. So we were also, under technical cooperation, we were also able to look at the technical cooperation among developing countries. That's ways in which developing countries should strengthen this cooperation. So we were able to highlight 7 areas in which the technical cooperation among developing countries, the developing countries should take action on. Then week 6, we were able to discuss on Nigerian Agrarian Institution. Nigerian Agrarian Institution. This covers module 4, units 1 and 2. Here we were able to discuss in unit 1, we talked about community-based agrarian culture and rural development program. Here we were able to look at the meaning of community-based. We were also able to look at why this fell. Poverty, traditional approach to poverty alleviation fell. And this was, the reason why they fell was because they could not mobilize sufficient external resources to assist the large target groups. They did not ensure high proportion of funds to reach the target groups. They did not make use of existing government programs and resources, and they have not been a setup outside the government processes, so that even the successful method have a difficulty of continuity. So we were also able to look at the project objectives and also that which involves 7 participatory states. Then we were also able to look at the international fund for under that unit 2 of module 4. We're able to look at the International Fund for Agricultural Development, that is IFAD, in Nigeria. So here we were able to look at the supports. We were able to look at the objectives, discuss on the objectives of the International Fund, the International Fund for Agricultural Development. We were able to look at the objectives of establishing the programs, which was to direct assistance towards empowering small-scale farmers, landless people, and rural women to generate sustainable income for farming and from farming and other activities. We were also, the another support assistance was to support poor reforms and local governance to expand access to information, effective transportation system, village infrastructure, and technologies. Also, the third one was to provide or towards improving access by poor rural community to financial service and social services as well. Then we in week seven is where the topic we discussed was on green revolution and the Nigerian river basin system. Those are the topic we consider in week 7. So we were able to look at the green revolution, the genesis of the green revolution. We also look at the first phase of the green revolution and as well as the second phase of the green revolution. So in then unit 4 was we were able to talk about the Nigerian river basin system. The Nigerian river basin systems includes, we were also able to look at the functions of this basin system. One was to undertake the comprehensive development of both surface and underground water resources for multi-purpose uses. The second one was to undertake scheme for control of flood and erosion and for watershed management. The third function was to construct and maintain dams, decks, palace, wells, boreholes, irrigation and drainage system. And then the fourth one was to develop irrigation scheme for production of crops and livestock and to lend the irrigatable land for farmers or recognized association in locality of the areas concerned. Also to provide water for reservoir, wells and boreholes under the control of the authority concerned for urban and rural water supply scheme on request by the state government. Also to develop fisheries and improve navigation of the rivers, lakes and reservoir and lagoons in authority areas. And then the seventh one to process crops and livestock produce, also to control pollution in rivers and lakes in authority areas in accordance with the national laydown standards. So we were also able to look at the different river basin development programs, which include water development programs, 2. Land development programs, 3. Crop and livestock development programs, 4. Fishery development programs, then 5. Settlement development programs. We were also able to discuss about Benin, Owene River Basin Development Authorities. Then we also was able to look at the implication of agrarian institution, that is unit 5 of model 4. We were able to look at the implications of agrarian institution for national development. So this implication at a point which will also result to other emergency of other areas. That's apart from the work done by the FAU, then Nigeria had embarked on other agricultural strategies and bodies to ensure adequate food production. So some of this includes green revolution, as we have just heard, then Operation Go Back to Land, the Nigerian Directorate for Employment, also an agricultural development projects being supported by the World Bank. So that is what we did. Where I also want to encourage you to go through the course materials. You will see the recording videos. You also see the instructional videos. Please listen to them, watch them and listen to them. Take notes on them because it will help you a great deal in passing your examination. I wish you all success in your examination. Thank you. See you next time. I remain Dr. Helen Inyang, your course facilitator. Thank you for listening.